Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. So this book was sent to me by one of you, Ambiguous Legacy, The Left in American Politics. And it was sent to me by a Patreon supporters, Tom and Mary Reynolds. Tom, thank you so much for supporting the show. I know you sent this a while ago. It's taken me forever to get to it. But I wanted to talk about this book because we talk on the show a lot about different books to read and different narratives and stuff like that. So I wanted to... I'm just going to read what you said. I suggest reading the introduction and conclusion first, then reading about the historical development of the different attempts to build a viable left movement. Although it was published in 1975, it is only more relevant now since the wholesale export of the U.S. industrial economy abroad, the U.S. invasion of the Middle East, the onset of mass surveillance, the 2008 economic meltdown, the current epidemic-related economic crisis, and the dawning of the new Cold War with Russia. Written before the recent misadventures of Bernie Sanders, the book celebrates the historical accomplishments of the American left, while at the same time analyzing both the social forces and theoretical practical shortcomings that have led our present dilemma. I would also suggest checking out Lenin's State and Revolution when you have time. It explains why the capitalist state cannot be reformed from within and why it must be completely destroyed and then replaced with a socialist one. Finally, I would strongly urge you to set up some time to watch the prize-winning documentary Smuggled Out of Fascist Chile via Diplomatic Pouch in 1973. The title is The Battle of Chile, The Struggle of an Unarmed People. It's part one, in The Insurrection of the Bourgeoisie, can be found on YouTube, posted by Radio Stocklemania with English subtitles, duration 1 hour and 45 minutes. Shows what happened when a politician, Salvador Allende, light years superior to Bernie Sanders, tried to make radical reforms using the traditional capitalist state apparatus. Yeah, and then that's when Pinochet got to power, and within months had people in soccer stadiums being beaten and tortured and killed. So one of the things I wanted to read here was that I outlined. From the communist experience, it can learn the necessity to avoid a narrow, ahistoric identification with other socialist revolutions, especially those that occur in nations with basically different social conditions than those that exist in the United States. Ironically, despite its many accomplishments, the history of the Communist Party provides only negative lessons. Although it took the lead in organizing blacks, identifying strongly with the word socialist movement, participated consistently in trade union activity, and even ran communist candidates for office, it did all these things in a way that compromised their positive aspects. So it's really, this book is very detailed. I've read some of it, and it talks about, and while again, as the Reynolds said, it's written in 1975, but it's very much like, wow, especially when we see what's happening all across America. This last 2 months of protests, what's happening in Portland, what's happening in Seattle. It talks about here the anti-war movement, again, had to make clear the need for solidarity with the international socialist movement, as well as the need for an anti-imperialist perspective. The Black movement, starting with the civil rights movement in the 1950s and carrying through to the experience of the Black Panthers and other revolutionary nationalist groups, had again to make plain the need for multinational movement, and along with the women's movement, for autonomous formations within an overall revolutionary movement. We're seeing that. Look, what they're talking about is what's going on in Portland. Portland is like, it's a Black Lives Matter protest. It's a end police brutality protest. But then now they want the federal officers out of Portland. So you've got moms all wearing, but all wearing the same color shirt. You've got dads all wearing the same color shirt. You've got veterans all wearing a different colored shirt. You've got chefs. You've got groups coming out. And what this is talking about is the thing I've been talking about, which is we need to unite along labor. Uniting along labor and bringing labor into the argument doesn't diminish the systemic racism that we have in our police departments. A bunch of white nationalists were just protected in a small town in Georgia against a protest that wanted to take down a racist statue. Because we know this. We know that white nationalists and Klan members are in police departments, high-ranking members of police departments. So it's no joke what's happening. But I want to read another part of the introduction here. And again, this book is, it's really relevant because there was all these movements, and it's relevant in the sense of like what was learned from the movements in the 60s and 70s, what to do, what not to do, what mistakes they made that we shouldn't let me just read this paragraph in the preface. A socialist revolution requires and makes possible a change in the basic principles that now determine and shape all social decision-making. In American capitalist society, the vast majority of people waste their lives in order to make enough money to survive. Well, that's not true anymore. Everybody's doing great. That's why they sent me this book, because it's so relevant now more than ever. So there was bad. The economy was bad, and this got bad in the 70s, but nothing like what's going to happen now. We're going to see something in the next year that's going to be worse than the Great Depression of the 30s and the recession of 2008. And it's going to last for years. It's going to take years to get out of it. I'm not trying to like be all like gloom and doom, but this is a reality coming. There's 28 million evictions going to come. It's coming. The nature and purpose of work is not determined by social needs or by the need for creative self-development, but by capital's need to expand and remain profitable. In contrast, the basic principle of socialism is the full and free development of every individual in a community where she or he is active participant and to which she or he is responsible. Such a society is possible only if power over the political economy is taken from the capitalist class. Such a society is possible only if power over the political economy is taken from the capitalist class by those who now work for the corporations and the government, either in factories, offices, or schools. In alliance with other social groups, the permanently unemployed, housewives, petty business people whose needs are not met and whose development is thwarted by the existing social system. So things were a little different, obviously, back then. It was like, women were just starting to enter the workforce. So some of that sounds a little dated, but just apply that to today. I mean, look, it's moms in the streets. I'm sure many of those moms in Portland are working, but like stay at home. I know stay at home dads. And as this relates to today, you have people in the gig economy. We have the working poor. We have 45% of the homeless population has jobs. We have all of these things. So this is so relevant. I mean, again, let me just reiterate and this is important because so many of us hear socialism and communism, they're going to, Stalin's going to come in and make us wait in bread lines. That's what you and Bernie Sanders and your group wants. No, explain to them this is what socialism means. We've all been propagandized to think that socialism, be it full-on socialism or democratic socialism, is totalitarian Soviet Union era communism, which it is not. And people say, name one socialist society that worked. It's like they weren't socialist. They talked about it, but then they were authoritarian in some form or another. So talking about the difference between, in an American capitalist society, the vast majority of people waste their lives in order to make enough money to survive. The nature and purpose of work is not determined by social needs or by the need for creative self-development, but by capital's need to expand and remain profitable. In contrast, the basic principle of socialism is the full and free development of every individual in a community where she or he is an active participant and to which she or he is responsible. So let's expand on that a little bit. This is what it's talking about in a socialist society. Everybody has a job. And no, they're not working for Stalin. It's like, rather than just get some job that pays the bills, and that job, basically your labor is getting exploited so that the CEOs at the top and the shareholders make more profit off of your labor than you do. And the bulk of your labor has to go pay for taxes. In a socialist society, everybody is taken care of and everybody has to participate. It's not just sit around and collect checks from the government. It's no, we all need to participate in society. We all have a direct say in society, which is why I bring this book in too. These books are very relatable. The Failure of Representative Government and the Solution. This is Mike Gravel's book. Please read this book. One of the things he talks about is we could set up very efficiently online voting. Oh, it's hackable. Come on. We all file our taxes online now. There's trillions of dollars in transactions every day at banks all over the world. The majority of which is not hacked. If it was every bank were getting hacked, banks would say no way to online banking. They would have said no, but they created security systems. We could have secure online votes. And what Gravel's book outlines is how the American people vote on bills. Imagine that. Not hope I hope AOC or whoever represents me in my district, I hope they vote the way I want, and there's some long bill with all this hidden bullshit in there. No, the bills would be 500 words or less, and we would read them online, and we would vote. Then we would really care about society. Do we need another fancy high-rise? Do we need some big mall? No, what does society need? Oh, we need more housing for the homeless, so people are going to go to work building that. And they're paid a good wage, and then there's stores and restaurants, and you can shop, and two restaurants can compete for business, but the workers own the means of production. And we as a society are asking ourselves, what's best for society? Do we need another $1 billion sports stadium that's sponsored by some big corporation? Do we? Well, we need more schools first. Do we want to spend more trillions of dollars on war? No, we don't. We want to make sure everybody has an education, and we're all working in jobs that are for the benefit of everybody's society. Right? I learned this pretty intensely when I started doing stand-up comedy in Afghanistan and Iraq for the military. I got into show business as a young man, as a comedian, and I wanted to be rich and famous. I'm not going to lie to you and say I got in for noble reasons. I wanted to be rich and famous. I had an innate ability to be funny. I was the youngest in my family. I had a family of performers. We were encouraged to perform. I was always the class clown. I played team sports, and I was a decent leader within team sports and was the funny guy in the locker room and everything this and that. And so I had a natural ability that was cultivated by my artistic parents. And I thought I could make a living at this. And I didn't want to have a real job. I didn't want to go to some job I didn't like, right? But I got in to be rich and famous. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a young man. I want to be famous, And then when 9/11 happened, I was really questioning my purpose in life. Like, what am I doing? There's people out there putting their lives on. The people have died. And I was like, firefighters and first responders are doing this. A friend of mine joined the military. I became an American Red Cross volunteer because I wanted to help. I wanted to give back to my community. And it was so gratifying. And I wasn't paid a nickel. I didn't make any money. I didn't put it on social media. I didn't get accolades. I just got the reward of helping people in need. And it was fantastic. And I thought, boy, how can I do that with my performing? And I remember I was really distraught after 9/11. And my mom said, remember Bob Hope? And I went, ooh. And then a friend of mine said, hey, they're sending comedians over there. And I was like, this is it. I have a purpose now. The Red Cross is awesome, but I have a unique ability to make people laugh, to stand on a stage. In a nation of over 300 million people, there are less than probably 1,000, maybe 800 professional working comedians. Just to give you an idea of where I stand in the percentage of society. There's 1,500 guys in the NFL, just to show you there's less working professional comedians. Not open micers, I'm talking about make your living telling and writing jokes. Less than 800 of us, probably. And I went into the war zones, and I wish people shook my hands and said, thank you for coming over here. And commanding officers told me and other comedians, your comedy is helping save lives. Our suicide rate goes down. And I really saw a purpose to what I was doing and refigured my view of why I was in show business. There's nothing wrong with frivolous entertainment. I did frivolous entertainment in the war zones. but it had a value in that circumstance. And so I made the documentary Afghanistan. I wanted to show people what it was like. I got into podcasting. It was about connecting people. So my point is, I found a real distinct purpose in a business that can be pretty shallow, in a business that can be pretty like go get famous, make a big lot of money, live in a mansion, win award shows. You get, they're going to give you free stuff and you get a nice car and you get to date beautiful people and all this. And I found like a purpose within that. And so why I'm saying that is, look, what if, and I think just in life in general, everybody needs to find a purpose in what they're doing with their life. In a socialist society, we're all thinking that every day. We're not like looking down and like, oh, this guy's the plumber. This guy works with his hands. She's the waitress. It's like, no, we need waitresses. We need plumbers. Thank you. And people are coming at it not from, I just need a job to pay my bills, but they're paid a good wage, and we as a society appreciate them. We need construction workers. We need garbage men. We need people cleaning dishes and waiting tables, and we need teachers. Teachers should be revered, and the police should be defunded, and their money should be reallocated, not for weapons to beat the shit out of people, but to help. When we see a homeless person, we should go, oh, what a bum. They should pull themselves up with their bootstraps. Go, no, how do we help that person? Let's put the housing first in there. That housing first plan that I've talked about that they did in Finland, where they realized in Finland that they had a bad homeless problem in Finland about 10 years ago. And they realized the old model of, just get the person a job, or just go help them get an apartment. Well, you can't get an apartment unless you have a job, and you can't get a job unless you have a permanent residence. So the homeless people are stuck in this catch-22. So they did a housing first program where they gave them housing and dignity and compassion and clothes and food and then job training, drug treatment, whatever the person needed. And they had a 4 out of 5 success rate, meaning 80% of the people that came through got back into society, and it cost them less money than the current dealing with homeless people. Cops showing up, there's fights, there's garbage, there's whatever, drug problems, there's all this shit going on, destruction of property, there's all this stuff going on. It's cheaper to give people homes and education and job training, and 80% of them went back into society. That's an amazing success rate. Not just some cot and just crash it for the night and we give you one meal and then tomorrow you're on your own, but get people integrated back into society. That's the socialism that I'm talking about. What's best for all of society? I don't have any kids of my own, but if I knew my taxes were going to pay for my neighbor's kid to go to school, I want that. You're afraid of the crime rate? Oh, the bad neighborhoods? What if we made the bad neighborhoods good neighborhoods? Not gentrifying them, not pushing people out, not letting big businesses and condos come in and gentrify them, but letting the people of that neighborhood and that community, give them jobs and money and education to help these things. Capitalism just crushes people. Socialism, in this form that they're talking about in this book, is kind and compassionate. We should all be thinking what makes society better, but instead, most of us, not all, we either wake up going, I just need to pay the bills, and then a handful of people think, I just want to make as much money as possible so that I can have 10 homes and a private jet, and I don't care what it does. I don't care if it exploits people. I don't give a shit. That's a sick society. Ambiguous Legacy, The Left and American Politics by James Weinstein. Great book. And thank you to Tom and Mary Reynolds for sending me this. Thank you for supporting the show. Shaving Knuckles for Justice. Oh.
Hey everybody, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.